So I run Dream Space Lab. It's an immersive experience and experiential art company. So we do things like finding creative ways to turn normal experiences into extraordinary works of art that you can interact with. And so a big focus of that is how we can use technology to, to transform experiences and create a space for people to have memories that can be shared with each other.
So with the client, St. Vitus, run us through what that process was and like that client, like what their needs were.
Yeah, pretty much started out, they had an event and they rented some lights for that event and they wanted to replicate that experience. So they wanted more disorientation, more like shadows being thrown and lights cast different directions. They initially just had what they call the nest, which was lights similar to these lights here, just LED bars that hung over the dance floor, and that was really all they had. So they took that nest system took the brunt of the show. It had to do all of the work for the show. But when they did the event and they rented the lighting, they saw that they could augment the nest and add some dimensions to the space. So then that's when they hit us up and we're like, we want to increase the strength of, we want to increase the abilities that we have, while also allowing the nest to shine as more of an art piece, like more of a centerpiece to the space.
So that went into like the programming process. How it was like, you guys were there for like all day.
That was wild. That was like a wormhole effect, being in there, I think multiple days, but definitely one day where we were in there for a long stretch programming, and it was very disorienting, like walking out of that in the middle of the day after hours of programming was a pretty wild experience. But we spent a lot of time. I think we even picked subjects that we would set around the room so that we could see the way that the shadows played off of it and the different ways that we were casting the light to really get as much movement in the room as we could. And then obviously we were working with color palettes with the specific goal of eliciting certain emotions, and getting a certain response from the people in the space and giving them a certain feeling every time. So really worked strategically with the dynamics of the space, the colors, and then the pacing of everything. But we still wanted to make sure that they had good control, like a good range of control, and a clearly defined path from like the start of the night to the end of the night.
Yeah, we kind of broke it down into 3 different levels. So we had 3 different banks of lighting cues we built, with one kind of being very, very minimal, kind of more subtle effects, not too fast. Then kind of a second one, which is more of a build-up. So the lights are kind of getting a little more energy to it. And then finally the third bank where it's just, full craziness.
Yeah. Then I think we also went back and forth between like tension and release scenes. So there were scenes that kind of allowed the room to breathe, and then scenes where it got intense, and that we would just go back and forth with that. So there would be contrast, just based on the way that sort of environment typically is. Like DJs will typically have a lot of tension in the release. They're building up the audience and then they're letting them, groove. So I tried to mimic that experience.
Yeah.